and welcome to my 2024 mid-year flip through. I cannot believe that we are already 6 months through the year. Truly mind-boggling, and I'm sure I say it every single time I do one of these flip throughs. And let's not dilly-dally at all today and go ahead and start the flip through. Now, this is a notebook therapy journal, has the little bee on the cover. It's adorable. I love it. Whoops, there's your sneak peek for the day. This is simply an introductory page, just letting everybody know, and by everybody, I mean me, know that this is my journal and my journal only. Typically, I put my phone number here as well. I might just do that when I actually complete the journal because I don't really take this anywhere. Previously, I used to take my journals kind of out and about, so I always put my phone number just in case I lost it. Luckily, that never happened. But because this has been living in my house along with myself, I didn't feel the need to. Now, I wanted to kind of match this page with the cover page and just the bee in general. This was a sticker that I got from B-Side Label while I was visiting Japan. I don't recall where I got these stickers from. They were freebies, and I'm not sure, but I know these are from Peppercut Studios, and I know these circle stickers are from Daiso. Typically, the locations in which I get my stickers consist of Peppercut Studios, Daiso, and a website called Sticky. So if you have any specific questions, please do let me know in the comments, but I will also try to list most of my material in the description box below. That way you can check it out there first to see if the material you're looking for is listed. But moving on to a very personalized page. This is not something I feel like you would typically ever find in people's reading journals, but I'm a cartographer, I draw maps. Here's a couple of examples of my work. Now, this is not my best map. It was done in a bit of a rush. I had been working on my journal, beginning page setup, for about 5 hours before I even got to drawing this map. So it was done, like I said, in a bit of a rush, but I think it adds such a nice touch, a nice introduction page, and it's called The Lands of Ibiena, which is actually honeybee backwards, and I did the compass with the logo for what's on the front of my journal. This is obviously very unique, but if you like tedious stuff, I definitely recommend giving this a try. It's a delight, truly, and I mean, I'm biased because I love drawing maps because I am a cartographer. So moving right along. Now, I will mention that this is a mixture of reading journals / just personal scrapbooky pages. So they will be scattered throughout as well. It's not really a bullet journal anymore because I've completely switched to planning digitally. So although in the beginning I do have a couple planning based spreads, but those phase out by June. So this is my year at a glance, which I think I'll always do just for the sake of tradition. I do only have 6 months here because I was convinced that this journal was only going to fit 6 months, but I've since moved my writing journal also digitally. So it takes up a lot less pages month by month, and I'm able to just fill up one journal per year, which is phenomenal because I really hate setting up new journals in the middle of the year. Personally, I like getting it all done at the start of the year if I can just use my journal straight throughout, and I'm so excited that I finally can. Now, like I said, year at a glance, and then these are just some personal stats. I'm a stats girly, love my statistics. So I have just my media growth, social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as my business growth, which is Oakleaf Arrow Studios. I just have numbers that I like looking back on to see my growth and see how I'm doing month by month. And then moving on to my library. Now, I am so proud of this page. I love the color palette. I love how things are looking. I feel like this attempt this year was so much better than last year, and I really like how things are shaping up. Now, this is a very basic spread. I feel like a very classic spread that a lot of people do in their reading journal, but you can't go wrong with a classic. Now, in case you're wondering what my color coding situation is, the darker green is for physical books, the light tan is for audiobooks, and then the kind of bluish lighter green is for books that I borrowed. So things are shaping up quite well. This page is inspired by my bestie Katie is reading. We have her signature window in the corner there, and it just looks phenomenal, and I'm just obsessed with how this page is turning out so far. I am really excited to see it fully filled in, so hopefully I can actually do enough reading to get everything nice and filled in. Next, we have another very basic spread, but you know, a very classic spread as well, and that's just a reading goal tracker, which is just consisting of 100 squares, and I've just been coloring in as I've been reading. Now, I am actually ahead of schedule in terms of my goal. My goal is 100 books, but I don't really read to try to achieve this goal. I just, hope by the end of the year I have read 100 books and call it a day. A very simple page to set up, but it looks so beautiful throughout the year as I get to fill it in. Then we have a new page for me, which is my monthly stats. This has been so fun to keep track of. I get to fill it in at the end of every month to kind of reflect on how my reading went statistically. So each row is a month and each column is a different stat. So we have books read, pages read, average star rating, 5 stars, new reads, rereads, DNFs, and books bought. So a nice variety of statistics that have been very easy to keep track of. All of these things I can figure out from obviously other pages as well as Goodreads. Like pages read is really helpful via Goodreads. I just total up using the Goodreads page numbers. I'm not trying to be like too specific when it comes to things. I just like having a general overview, and I think it looks pretty cool so far. Then we have an anticipated releases page. This was a new page for me this year, and honestly, it's been kind of nice, although I keep forgetting to refer back to look at this page per month for I know when things are coming out. And also, there's a few more books that I've been meaning to add to it. Just haven't got around to doing so yet, but it is helpful. I'll probably do it again next year just for I have a general overview of knowing when books are coming out and knowing when I'm supposed to be excited. Then we have my 2024 TBR. I don't have like a tracker to check off the books that I've actually read, so I'm gonna actually just point them out for you and we'll see how many I've done. So we read Priory of the Orange Tree, Adventures of Amina El Sarafi, Elantris. I did read House of Flame and Shadow. Let's see, ASAP I did read, Funny Story, Not in Love, and You Mean the Nightmare Painter. So I've read 8 out of, how many books do I have on here? 2, 4, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So 8 out of 15. I am just over the halfway mark, which honestly, I'm actually quite proud of. I didn't realize that I was already halfway through my 2024 TBR, so I am right on track, right where I'm needing to be. Most of these books I'll probably pick up come fall because I'm in my summer romance reading mood right now, so I don't have any urge to pick up any of these on my TBR as of yet. Then moving on to my books bought. Now, I want to point out, I did a really good up to March, okay? I bought a total of 5 books from January to March. And then you know what happened? I am 110% blaming this on Jan because I visited Jan and suddenly my book buying spiraled completely out of control. So I've bought 31 books this year. But the saying always goes, it could be worse. It could be worse. And you know what? Many of these books I've actually read so far. So I've bought books and read them in the same year. I feel like that's an accomplishment within itself, okay? Although, to be honest, who really needs to justify their book buying? I do like a little bit because I don't have quite enough space. However, I will be able to expand with a new bookcase if I feel like it. So honestly, not too bad. You know what really happened? If we're gonna be so honest, I used credit card points for the first time and those things are magical, okay? Every book that I've bought off of Amazon in May was used from credit card points, and that means it's basically free. So that's honestly what happened. Moving right along to the page that I visit most, which is my books read. Now I have Dutch Doors, which was the best idea I've ever had because it means that I didn't have to decorate a books read page over and over again like previously. Instead, we just have a nice running list. We can turn the page, boom, we're in June. And look, you can still see everything else around. It gets better. How does it get better? Boom. Book covers. Look how beautiful all of these are. I have book covers as well as their star ratings. and I already have 3 pages worth. I just love how book covers look. And these tiny little forms, look at them. I do have a couple I need to print. I just didn't get around to doing so before filming, but that's typically how my journal looks anyways. And then I'll have a day where I kind of catch up on everything. So I'm just giving you a nice realistic look at what my journal looks like on a day-to-day basis. So moving right along to my Wyverns and Words tracker. Things have changed on this page. Originally, I already had the City of Brass series set from May to July, but if you didn't see the announcement, Katie and I are ending Wyverns and Words, and we had a change of plans with not continuing on the City of Brass series and instead reading Mistborn. So I plan on using these like missing cover pages for November, October, and June. Again, I just need to actually print them out and find where I put this graphic. I do really love like my book club trackers, and I'm sad that I don't have to make another Wyverns and Words one. I always love the overview of how things look. And now we've finally made it to January. Now this is kind of, like I said in the beginning, a little bit plannery, but then there's some reading journal pages that are more interspersed month by month. But moving on to the next page, we have my calendar, which I know is probably the most terrifying thing you've seen, but this is actually when I was in flight attendant training, so we had all our different tests we had to take, and just like the schedule and my day-to-day everything. It was a crazy, crazy time. Sorry, this is blurred. This is my finance page, but I think in May, finally move these to the back of my journal so they're not interspersed. You know, just small details that no one really cares about. And then I have my highlights page here, which is just like the highlight of every day, just like a line a day sort of thing. Next, I decided to make a nice Brando Sando Cosmere tracker. Now, I'm not doing splendid with this tracker, I will be honest. Obviously, we've done Mistborn Era 1, Elantris, Warbreaker, The Way of Kings. I've read the first 3 in Mistborn Era 2. I do plan on trying to reread Era 2 and see if I'll enjoy it more the second go around. That way I can actually finish off the series because I never read The Lost Metal. And then as for the secret projects relating to the Cosmere, I've read Tress and Yumi, but still have yet to read The Sunlit Man. I thought this was a fun tracker idea to do. Honestly, I'm not sure if there's any other like super long series I feel like diving into, but if there is, I think making a page for them is wonderful. So if y'all are reading any like long series, I definitely recommend a little like series tracker. It's very fun, and if you're like me and you do different themes throughout the month, then it's kind of cool to have each tracker perhaps themed something like slightly different. And then this is just a little like memory page when I went to the House of Flame and Shadow midnight release. I met some girls in line and we chatted, and I obviously got to pick up my copy of the book. I thought I would just make like a nice little memory page commemorating that. And then we have just some pictures from my time at flight attendant training. This was just a little letter that we got from a previous class. We each got to also write a letter to a future class. That was super fun, but I love just like scrapbook pages. And we're on to February, which both of these I was in flight attendant training during, so there weren't that many like book related pages because I didn't have access to a printer until like March. So that's why there's more planning pages and less like reading pages. Another calendar that I'll briefly flip through. And then obviously my finance and my highlights page, briefly skipping past that as well. Some more like flight attendant training memory pages. This was a letter that my instructor, who evaluated my final test, wrote me, which was very sweet. It's a card from my parents and just like all my classmates, which was so fun. Then we have just a couple of memory pages when I went and visited home for what I thought was going to be the last time in a while, but turns out that I visit them quite a bit back in Texas. And then we have just like a nice page with all the February books that I read. So a nice little wrap up. And this was actually the first time that I've done like a wrap up page in my reading journal with the book covers. And I am obsessed, Your Honor. I am obsessed. I love the book covers and how this looks, and I continue doing these throughout the month as a wrap up. It's a nice way to see an overview of all the books that I've read each month and to look at their pretty book covers, of course. Moving right along, we have just a friendiversary page with my bestie Katie, my parabatai. This was our friendiversary, and I got to visit her in February, and we were just goofy. We filmed a vlog. It was a lot of fun, and I always love making pages that she's on, which she's on most of the pages almost every single month, so fear not, you'll be seeing more of her face around. Next, we are on to March, which I'm not a big fan of this cover page. I wanted an excuse to draw a Celtic knot. Not super thrilled with how that turned out. Then the quote took up too much room, and it was just, the cover page was not it, and neither was the calendar. I messed up drawing this calendar like 3 times, and I just kind of let it be. Again, highlights, finances, moving briefly along. Some more like memory style pages with some of the trips that I worked, some of the people I worked with, you know, moving in, and just little bits and bobs that I just want to remember. This was my birthday page. I went and drove over to my grandparents, and my parents drove also from Texas to Florida, and my dad and I went go-karting. And that was such a fun way to spend my 22nd birthday, especially since I had just moved away from all of my friends. So it was cool that I still got to celebrate my birthday with people that I love. Then we have my first international trip while working as a flight attendant, which was to Santiago in the Dominican Republic. Wanted to make a little like commemorative page. And this is when I thought that I would start to incorporate Formula One races into my journal. If you don't know, I really enjoy Formula One. I've been keeping up with the season. Let me know your favorite driver if you're also into Formula One. But I did one page, and that was it. I just realized I was not built to make Formula One pages, so we will move swiftly along. This was just an overview of my spring TBR. I never really did seasonal TBRs, but I had a lot of fun setting this spring TBR up that honestly, I've been continuing on doing like spring. I've done a summer TBR as well, you'll see in a little bit, and I'll probably continue on because they're actually really fun to set TBRs seasonally. And again, another excuse to look at pretty book covers. Never can pass up an excuse to look at book covers. Again, miscellaneous things, bits and bobs. There's this beautiful card that Sarah sent me for St. Patty's Day. If you don't know the joke, St. Patty's Day is my favorite holiday. So I did my little like, you can barely see it, but I was actually in Santiago during St. Patty's Day, but I have my sweatshirt on, this beautiful seal that she sent, and just a very kind note. And then we have my March wrap up. So not too many books, but the color palette, phenomenal. Look at the Well Met series. Ooh, she makes everything come together so well. Love to see it. And we're swiftly onto April, which honestly I think is one of my favorite themes. I feel like I really redeemed myself from the travesty that March was, because look at the blues. Look at the blues, look at the sparkles. I love to see it. Calendar, the last calendar, RIP calendars, not really. I always hated setting these up, and then I realized that I just stopped using them. Highlights, finances, briefly moving along. And then we have my April TBR. This is the first month that I started doing like TBR pages. Again, just another excuse to look at the pretty book covers. Again, I will use any excuse to do so. Didn't really stick to this TBR very well, but you know, it's fine, it's pretty, it's there. Then we have when I went and filmed a 24-hour read-a-thon with Katie. Once again, included some of the books that we read together and, you know, goofy photos as well. And on the very next page is one of my favorite layovers that I've had so far while working as a flight attendant, and that is Salt Lake City, Utah. It was absolutely beautiful there. I got to visit the Salt Lake City Public Library. The views of the Rockies were literally so gorgeous. Please take me back. And then this coffee shop called Legendarium was so vibey. My drink was called a s'more. It was hot chocolate with a roasted marshmallow and graham crackers on top. absolutely phenomenal, and I did some pictures of some art that I worked on while there. And then we have Jan on the next page. This is when I got to meet Jan Agaton, and she was an absolute delight, and I cannot wait to visit her once again. We have some just like goofy photos mixed in there, as well as just some selfies that we took. I really love how this page looks, and it's so appropriately next to my April wrap up. Again, look how beautiful she is. Look at the Freyring covers. Ugh, I am absolutely and utterly obsessed with these. Love, love, love. Then we have more journal pages, bits and bobs of when I went and visited Texas, when I saw my favorite band, set it off. I always put my VIP lanyard in here because it's signed, as well as writing down the set list just so I can look back and see what they performed. Then we have my first Scarborough Festival page. I went with Lexi, and this was our 4th year going together, and it was so fun. We took some cute pictures. I have an exclusive vlog that I put up on my Patreon. It was just so delightful. And then we have my Patreon book club tracker. So I am needing to put The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence on here. I did just pencil that in to remind myself that I needed to print off that book cover, but these are the ones that have been chosen so far. I'm very proud of how this page turned out. I was a little short on stickers by time that I actually got to make this page because I had so many pages I had to do previously. However, these like arrows and the oak leaf and the mason chain and stuff were stickers I designed almost 3 years ago, back when I used to sell stickers. I don't anymore, but I found an extra sheet and it just matched so wonderfully. And now we're on to May, which has very similar vibes to April, except for purple. Love to see it. Look at that. The calendar is no more. We've finally retired the calendar and the finance tracker, and instead we have highlights and TBR. Now, I don't think I stuck to the TBR for May very well either. You know, I set TBRs, but I don't stick to TBRs, okay? But they're fun to at least set and really think about and then ignore. You know, TBRs are built to be ignored. At least in my world they are, you know? Next is a page that I never got around to actually making. I might go back one of these days and make it, but I had hosted my Patreon read-a-thon and so much happened during May. It was not a very kind month to me, so this page fell to the wayside and I didn't really get to partake in my own read-a-thon as much as I wanted to. So perhaps one day I'll go back and actually make a page for this, but in the meantime, it's just kind of blank. Then we have the second time I went to the Renaissance Festival, this time with my other friend, who's also named Lexi, and her friend April. Again, just another like fun memory page. Hope y'all don't mind all these like memory pages sprinkled within the in-between of the reading tracker, but I thought I'd fully share what my reading journal looks like. Sorry, this entire page is blurred. That is when I was with my whole family, and none of them are really on the internet, so instead, look at my pretty tattoos. This is my newest tattoo. Katie made me my Patreon reading sprint thumbnail. It was vetoed in the end, but I still think it's like the funniest thing ever. So thank you, Katie, for your contribution, of course. This is when I went to San Juan, Puerto Rico for a flight attendant trip, memory pages, as well as just my May wrap up, which honestly, I don't know how each of my wrap-up pages, like the book covers kind of all match in a certain way. Like I love how this looks. And then, oh, this is one of my favorite pages. This is actually an exclusive journal video for Patreon that I set up, and it was kind of a memento to Frieren, which is my favorite manga now, and also my favorite anime, and I just had a hyperfixation on it, and I wanted to share. So here we are. I love it so much. Look at her, love her, appreciate her. Fun fact, when I was sketching out these like letters, it's on glitter paper, which you can't really pencil on glitter. So I had to draw these letters backwards and then cut them out. And honestly, I'm kind of impressed. But this is kind of book related, kind of anime related. I wanted like the colored panels from the anime versus like the black and white from the manga. I think it turned out fine. She's a cutie. And then we are on to June, the last and final month of this journal. Now, I will warn you, there are not many pages. Typically, I set up like the pages that I want to set up either like mid-month or like the end of the month or like the beginning of the next month. I typically just like pencil in like, oh, I want to set up this page here and then skip a couple pages before setting up for the following month. And I've just been kind of busy in June, so I haven't had any time. I just got back from a visit with Katie, so we're gonna blame her for why no more pages are done in June, other than, of course, my TBR. This might be one of my favorite TBR pages that I've made. Again, I love the color palette of the book covers. I think they are so beautiful, and I love the stickers. They are phenomenal. If you'll see the next page, see, nothing. The next page, also nothing. This does say Katie, nice and small, but that is it for my journal. I hope that you enjoyed my little flip through. I always like giving just like a mid-year flip through for you know how things are really shaping out in my journal, as well as for any of you that do need to set up a new journal, you can have ideas of how spreads will look. You know, I do my beginning year setups, and sometimes I don't even know how the pages are going to turn out until I actually do them. This was so fun to flip through this journal. If you don't know, I used to be a journaling channel, but now I'm a booktuber, so it's fun to sometimes go back to my roots and share my journal with you all. So I really hope that you enjoyed. Thank you so much to my lovely Patreons. If you're ever looking for some more exclusive content from me, that is the place to get it. We've got monthly buddy reads, read-a-thons, which you saw a failed page in there for, as well as just exclusive videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Toodles!